Greetings and welcome to our very first episode of Loring It Out with Katie and Keith. Heads up, before we start, this video is full of spoilers. You have been warned. And, we admit, we have more questions than answers, so what we're doing here is we're presenting our theories and hopefully get some discussions going. Well, let's get on with it. What we'd like to discuss in this video concerns a small bit of detail that's so easily overlooked, no matter how many times one's played through the game. In the very beginning of the game or each new playthrough, when we find Wolf in the well, there's this lone petal fluttering off as it detaches from his leg, seeming to cause him to stir. Why is this so special, you might ask? First of all, this petal, this particular lone petal, is specifically rendered with realistic detail. It's meticulously animated, zoomed in, and tracked. It's meant to be noticed. The only other time this occurred in the game is right before the first stage of Wolf's battle with the Divine Dragon. Right before Wolf's slaughter fest with those diseased minions, the first stage of the fight is initiated with a cutscene. This Sakura petal received the same treatment as Wolf's. It's also realistically rendered, beautifully animated, zoomed in, and tracked. Why is this so special? You might say, I'm playing a Japanese game full of Japanese things set in Japanese times. Moreover, the sakura, or cherry blossom, is so popular a Japanese motif that it's essentially disguised by its own familiarity. It's therefore, understandably, easily dismissed as a mere decorative element. However, bear this in mind. No flowering plants exist in the whole of Ashina, except the white lotus of the sunken valley that the guardian ape had been tending for untold years, before he got pwned by Wolf, and the sakura tree standing in the center of Mibu village, way down in the depths. When we compare the fluttering petals from the two cutscenes, along with the blossoms found at the fountainhead, the depths, and most importantly, on the divine dragon itself, it's worth noting that Wolf's petal and the fully bloomed sakura flourishing on the dragon revived both bear a much deeper shade of pink than their fountainhead and Mibu village counterparts, which are much more pale, almost white. To speculate the reasons behind this will lead us astray, as we are not now theorizing the dragon's role in the story. Rather, we're focusing on the fact that Wolf's been trapped in the well for an unspecified period of time, and yet, here's this petal from a source or sources that's found nowhere near his location at that point in time. We feel that the petals shown in the two cutscenes are unique, because while pink animated blossoms do make an appearance, notably when you're awarded resurrective power upon killing enemies, when you cure everyone of dragon AIDS, and when you resurrect, they're still presented in a somewhat abstract, non-literal form. Even in the cutscene where Wolf obtains the mortal blade, the flurry of petals accompanying his resurrection have a much more figurative or symbolic appearance compared to the hyperrealism of the two lone petals. So, we've established that we think these two petals are important. And it's like this with every Miyazaki game title. You notice something super cool, but you're left agonizing. But what does it mean? Well, here are our speculations. 1. According to the Bushido, which is the ancient code of conduct for the Japanese warrior class, the samurai viewed Sakura as a representation of droplets of blood. And this is indeed often shown in abstract form, as well as represented by the Sakura droplet that Wolf received upon defeating Lady Butterfly. We can't really see how this theory helps to connect Wolf's petal with the dragons though, so we'll move on. 2. Could the petals represent the passage of time? In Japan, from the opening of the first buds to the flowers reaching full bloom and subsequently falling from their branches, the typical sakura season lasts about 2 weeks. So basically they represent the ephemeral, kind of like progressing through the game. If you choose to be kind and auspicious versus a murdering psycho, you'll get to experience the full passage of time in the game. You start in the morning and progress at key points to afternoon, early evening, and night. From the moment Wolf wakes at the dilapidated temple after this cheat chops your arm off even when you've beaten him, you have 1 day to go from being the most inept amnesiac moron who can't deflect, can't grapple, can't ledge hang, can't jump, and definitely can't mikiri counter, to becoming the ultimate badass who kills his dad twice, murders his friend, splitting his face in half, and finally emerging victorious after an end-all duel with the greatest swordsman that ever lived.
I am the greatest swordsman that ever lived.
In short, you have less than 1 day to remember how to ninja and do something about the dragon's heritage by either killing a kid, killing yourself, or going on a super long road trip. The presence of these two petals could be completely allegorical, but perhaps they represent something more real. Which brings us to our third possibility. Could the petals mark an awakening from the spiritual realm to the physical? Have you noticed at the start of the game, Wolf is unable to absorb items from fallen foe? Maybe upon receiving Kuro's binding gift when he was at the brink of death at Hirata, he actually did die. But imbued with the gift from the divine air, perhaps allowed him to pass into the spirit realm for an unknown period of time. He then awoke for real in the well, the physical realm, only to die again to him. And is thus reborn with regret, becoming a vessel. That's why it's called Shadows Die Twice. Perhaps the dragon also woke from a similar cross-planed slumber when we got rid of the rot. And maybe the only realities are the world where Wolf wakes at the well, and the divine realm where he battles the dragon, which leaves everything else as constantly cycled memories. Which brings us to our fourth and biggest question. Has Wolf been to the divine realm? Yes, we know the story does more or less follow a cyclic pattern. The most important indication is revealed in the following dialogue between Wolf and Kuro. After defeating Owl at Ashina, having procured the aroma ingredients, Kuro asks Wolf to examine the incense burner. He then tells Kuro that the aroma is reminiscent to sawdust and also smells faintly of sakura.
何やら木くずのようなものが残っていました。そしてかすかに桜のような香りが。
As far as we can recall, the only time sawdust makes an appearance is when the sculptor is carving Buddha, even though it kind of resembles a Jesus statue. We can see from the inactive idol near the secret passage that the idols scattered all across the land and even at the fountainhead are actually carved from wood. I thought they were stone at one point. Most importantly, one item of great significance is also carved from wood, and it's this. It's the only usable item on Wolf's person when you start a brand new game. As per the item description, it's wooden, it's been in Wolf's possession since he was picked up by Owldad, it's used to return home, and it's worn from much use. By the way, did you know that if you use the homeward idol in the well, you'll end up back at the well, but you get all your health back? And if you somehow sustained damage on your way to the secret passage, once you're in the tunnel with Kuro, you can use the idol to replenish your one gourd use and get all your health back. Now you'll have a little more confidence facing the first boss in the game, right? I'm going off tangent a little. What I'm saying is, having died while imbued with the blood of the divine heritage, could Wolf have spiritually ascended to the divine realm before awakening in the physical world via his homeward idol? Keith thought at one point that perhaps Wolf is the dragon's missing left arm, which symbolically sounds so cool. But we realize quickly it doesn't make any sense, because that would imply Wolf is actually from the Fountainhead, or Divine Realm. They're not interchangeable, we know. Which means he'd naturally carry the aroma of the Fountainhead, and shouldn't have to go through all that trouble of making his clothes smell like flowers and stones, in order to fool the Ropeman taxi into transporting him to the Fountainhead. So, what do you think of the significance of these two petals? Do you think it alludes to the Bushido's view of sakura representing droplets of blood? Does it point to the passage of time? Or does it signal the crossing between the spiritual and physical realms, thus perhaps indicating that Wolf had in fact been to the divine realm upon his first real death? Let us know. We're not going to delete your comments or vote them down just because you have sharper eyes and notice some vital detail and are able to call us out on our inaccuracies. We hope this was thought-provoking and perhaps just a little bit more fun than some English dude reading you item descriptions. Bye, and thank you so much. So, I'm 3/4 of the way done with editing when I was reviewing cutscenes and I noticed something that's just beyond infuriating. Here, I'll show you. So here's the purification ending. Look at that. They look so real. They don't have that red glow anymore. It gets even better when they show his grave mound. Just watch. The fuck are those? Come on, seriously. And then, right when I'm about done, is when Keith pointed out that maybe those two petals, Wolf's and the dragon's, are one and the same, which is just fantastic. I just don't know anymore. For our next lore project, in what we plan to be the second installment in a trilogy covering the intricate story of Sekiro, we'll be delving deep to investigate the lies and deceptions of a brilliantly disguised, powerful mythological entity featured prominently in Japanese folklore. Again, thank you for watching. We'll talk to you soon.